The Joe Rogan Experience.
Look, I'm kind of all for that. I mean, I've seen this with politicians on the campaign trail. Like, they are so tight now in ways that they used to not be.
Well, you saw the Donald Trump thing. Donald Trump Jr., where Trump Jr. they wanted him to do a Q&A, and he didn't want to do it, so they booed him. The right-wing people were booing him. They were yelling out, Q&A, Q&A, because they wanted to be able to talk.
Oh, I see.
They wanted to be able to say something to him. And these were people that were like far right people. They just didn't think he was being right enough, or he was playing the game wrong, or he wasn't letting them complain to him.
Right. Yeah. No, that's bad. And politicians are aware of that now, and they're constantly aware that they're on film everywhere, and so they're 1,000% less interesting because they're. I mean, I remember covering campaign in 2004. And I saw Dennis Kucinich give a speech somewhere, and he was going from, I think, Maine to New Hampshire, and I said, well, can I get a ride back to New Hampshire? He's like, yeah, sure. So he takes me on the van. He like takes his shoes off. He's like cracking jokes and everything, and like eating udon noodles or something. Political candidates would not do that now. Like, they'd be afraid to be off the record with you.
Right.
Right. And they're afraid to be around people and just behave like people, which is not good, I don't think.
It's the weirdest time ever to be a politician, because it's basically, you've got this one guy who made it through being hugely flawed and just going, fucking locker room talk. And everyone's like, well, yeah, it is locker room talk, I guess. And then it works, and he gets through and he wins. And so you've got him who seems like he's so greasy, like nothing sticks to him. And then you have everyone else who's terrified of any slight misstep.
Yeah, totally. And you can't replicate the way Trump does this. Trump he was born this way. There's like a thing going on in his head. Like, he is, pathologically driven to behave in a certain way, and he's not going to be cowed by the way people are about social media, because he just doesn't think that way.
No.
But that's, no one else is going to behave like that.
What do you think about him and speed? What do you think about all that?
Does he take speed, you mean?
Yeah.
So did you ever see his speech after Super Tuesday?
Yeah, that's the one where he was slurry.
That
was the one where he was ramped up?
He was very. I just say, watch that speech. We're not supposed to draw conclusions about, what might be going on pharmaceutically with somebody. But I would say just watch Donald Trump's performance after the results of the Super Tuesday rolled in 2016.
Let's hear some of that.
First of all, Christie is hilarious.
I watched Hillary's speech, and she's talking about wages have been poor, and everything's doing badly, but we're going to make it. She's been there for so long. I mean, if she hasn't straightened it out by now, she's not going to straighten it out in the next 4 years. It's just going to become worse and worse. She wants to make America whole again, and I'm trying to figure out what is that all about.
Is this it?
Yeah, I mean, it just. I have to go back and look, but he went on and on. Also, the Christie factor was really funny with that, because he was
look at him. He's just sitting back there going, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Look at his face. Literally, you could see his brain wander. Well, how the fuck did this happen? I was going to be the man. Like, I was the goddamn president. It was going to happen for me. I could see it happening.
I saw him in Ames, Iowa, basically standing alone in the park waiting for people to try to shake his hand. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like, you see that. But do you have a theory about Trump and speed?
Yeah, I think he's on some stuff. I think, first of all, I know so many journalists that are on speed. I know so many people that are on Adderall, and it's very effective. It gives you confidence. It gives you a delusional perspective. Like, you get a delusional state of confidence. It makes people think they can do anything. It's basically a low-level meth. It's very similar to methamphetamine chemically.
Yeah, sure.
And people
I've done it. Yeah.
Tell me what it's like, because I haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, I have done speed too. I mean, all those drugs are they're like baby speed, basically.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I think it's not good for a writer, because writing is one of these things where one of the most important things is being able to step back and ask, am I full of shit here? Are my jokes as funny as I think they are? Like,
right.
If once that mechanism starts to go wrong, you're really lost as a writer, right? Because you're not in front of an audience. you're with yourself in front of a computer. So I don't think speed is a great drug. I mean, you get a lot of stuff done. So that's good. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people who are on it now, and also a lot of it's because kids come up through school and they're on it too,
Yes.
you know, and they get used to it. So I have kids. I wouldn't dream of giving them any of those drugs.
No.
You know, I think it's crazy. Yeah.
I do too. Did you saw the? I'm sure you saw the Sudafed picture too, right?
No, what was that? I'm sorry.
Trump was sitting in his office eating it was that famous photo where he's like, I love Hispanics, where he's eating a taco bowl at Trump Tower, and behind him there's an open drawer, and in that open drawer is boxes of Sudafed. And Sudafed,
Sudafed
gives you, I mean, it gives you a low level buzz, and I mean, this is why you used to have to go to CVS to buy this stuff. You used to have to give your driver's, I guess you still do. You have to give your driver's license because they want to make sure you're not cooking meth. You're not buying like 10 boxes of it at a time and cooking up a batch.
Yeah, if you're like in a holler in Kentucky and you go in and you get 20 boxes of Sudafed, I think pretty much people know what you're doing there. Yeah, that's really funny. So he had a bunch of Sudafed behind him?
Yeah, in his box. And, you know, there was that one reporter that, what was that guy's name again? Who had he wrote a series of tweets, which he eventually wound up taking down, by the way, Jamie. I can't find those fucking tweets. He wrote a series of tweets that there was a very specific Duane Reade pharmacy where Trump got amphetamines for something that was in quotes called metabolic disorder. Kurt Eichenwald. Fun fact.
Kurt, yeah.
1982, Trump started taking amphetamine derivatives, abused them, only supposed to take 2 for 25 days, stayed on it for 8 years. Really. Now, is he full of shit?
So, yeah, Kurt Eichenwald is interesting because he's written some really good books about finance. He wrote a book about Enron. He wrote a book about Prudential. It was really good. And when I was starting out writing about Wall Street, I was like, wow, these books are really incredibly well researched. But he had some stuff in 2016 where, like, that's an example of something as a reporter I see that I'm like, well, where's that coming from? You know, and because you in journalism you can't really accuse somebody of certain things unless it's backed up to the nth degree. So he had a couple of things that I would be concerned about.
He took a leap.
I don't know. I mean, look,
but that's what I'm saying. Stepped outside the journalistic boundaries of what you can absolutely prove and not prove, and took a leap. And that's why I think he took down the Duane Reade pharmacy. He didn't take it down? Oh, it's still there as well?
There was
oh, okay. There it is.
There was another thing about a...
oh, he's got the milligrams per day.
Wow. Where is this from?
I don't know.
He doesn't show it or anything, but I believe he
got
a copy of it from someone, or he talked to the doctor. Or...
Drug was diethylpropin, 75 milligrams a day, prescription filled at Duane Reade on 57th Street, Manhattan. Not that I know things.
So, you know...
He's got the doctor's name, too. Dr. Joseph Greenberg. I counted with medical records. A White House admitted to me only a short time for diet that he took it when he was not overweight.
Okay, then that's fine.
He says, I counted with medical records. They cut me off. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing I will say is that when you're covering stories, sometimes you hear things and you know they're pretty solid, but it's not quite reportable because the person won't put their name on it, or you know, you're not 100% sure that the document is a real document. Maybe it's a photocopy, and that can be very, very tough for reporters because they know something's true, but they can't.
Right.
They can't. And social media has eliminated a barrier that we used to have. We used to have to go through editors and fact checkers. And now, you know, you're on Twitter, you can just kind of boop, you know.
Right.
Or you can hint at something, you know. And I think that's something you don't want to get into as a reporter too much, you know.
Yeah, that's a weird use of social media, right? It's like sort of a slippery escape from journalistic rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, or you can insinuate that somebody did X, Y, and Z, or you can use terms that are a little bit sloppy, like, you know, again, like.
But it seems like they did admit that he took that stuff for diet.
Yeah, so if you have the White House, spokesperson saying that he took it for a short time for a diet, then you're fine. That's a reportable story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think when people get into that shit, it's very hard for them to get out of that shit. Mm-hmm. That's the speed train, and I've seen many people hop on it. It's got a lot of stops. Nobody seems to get off.
Yeah, not with their teeth intact, right? Yeah, no, it's that's not a good
Also,
good way to
he's
end.
so old. He's so old. He doesn't exercise. He eats fast food, and he's got so much fucking energy.
I
I mean,
know.
people want to think he's this super person, but maybe he's on speed
Maybe, yeah, and maybe he's just gonna turn over and collapse one
or
day.
not. Maybe
Yeah.
you can go a lot longer on speed than people think. Maybe if you just do it the right way.
But isn't that kind of the way history always works? It's like, again, not to go back to the Russia thing, but all the various terrible leaders of Russia, like they all died of natural causes when they were 85, right? Whereas, in a country where people get murdered and die of industrial accidents and bad health when they're, 30 all the time.
Right.
But the worst people in the country make it to very old age and die and they're alcoholics. And maybe that's a thing, right? Maybe, he has the worst diet in the world, and maybe he's on speed. And
Maybe it's also your perception of how you interface with the world. Maybe because he's not this introspective guy that's really worried about how people see him and feel about him. Maybe he doesn't feel, whether it's sociopathy or whatever it is, he doesn't feel the bad feelings. They don't get in there.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the stress impact, right? Yeah,
and that's the
because
thing
he's
about
not-
speed. Apparently, because of the fact that it makes you feel delusional, and it makes you feel like you're the fucking man. Like you
Right.
don't worry about what other people think. These fucking losers. Who cares?
Right, yeah,
Let's buy
exactly.
Greenland.
Yeah.